Friday, May 11th, 2020, Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on today's episode of the show. Certain parts of the world are starting to open back up, but it's not quite like it was before. Shanghai Disneyland is a case in point. We'll let you know how they are handling crowds. And utilizing artificial intelligence is imperative for the more rapid advancement of medical technology and procedures. We'll be joined by Jason Martin of Intel to discuss their new initiative. Plus, we'll have our own Andy Boxall joining the show today to cover some of the ins and outs of Apple iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard and whether it's an adequate alternative to the MacBook Air. And our own Drew Prindle will be back for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, where he scours the internet to find the latest, greatest, and sometimes weirdest crowdfunding campaigns that are out there. All of this and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Yes, hello everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, a bunch of other sites, and wherever you are, you can join in the conversations that we get to have. So certainly drop those in there. Let us know what you want to talk about, but let's get to the news here at the start. So, some places around the world, some organizations are starting to open back up, and we're going to get a little bit of an insight into how that's going to look with what's happening in Shanghai right now. So Shanghai Disneyland opening back up today, and they released a video that kind of showcases how they're going to be doing that, and it's certainly not going to be the same as it was. Social distancing is going to be mandated. There's going to be all kinds of different setups as far as knowing how far apart you are from someone else. Also, masks are going to be mandated. They also will only be at the capacity of, I believe it's about 30% of what the max capacity could be. They said that they're probably even going to keep it lower than that. You'll also be buying tickets for a set date. So it's not like you can just walk up and buy a ticket like you normally would, or buy a ticket and use it anytime you want. It would be for a set date and time, so that way they can actually monitor and keep track of how many people will be in there. There's also going to be something called a health QR code, which is required for entry. So this is something that you're going to be utilizing with this app. It'll be able to monitor things. It'll also help with contact tracing. So while you're in there, so there's a lot of different things that they're implementing here to try to make it safe for people. And that is kind of a demonstration that they're showcasing there of wearing those masks. And now that does seem like something that as we go forward, we could see this happen in other places. So for the United States, say, when and if that day comes that Disneyland does open back up, this is how it could look. This could be the future for quite a while. They're also utilizing different AI software, but certainly a lot of things going into that, and a testing ground, so to speak, of what could happen other places. So that's Shanghai Disneyland opening up today. We'll probably have more information on how that all shakes out and what kind of tech they're using, but you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Giving you some news here at the top. Something else that is happening that's not going to be in person but is still going on, and that is San Diego's Comic-Con. So San Diego's Comic-Con, 50 years in the running. This is the first time it's ever canceled, just like many other things that have been canceled. But they did release this video talking about what they're going to be doing with their new version of it. So originally it was scheduled between July 23rd and July 26th. Lots of people attend this. It's huge. Very big thing for when it comes to especially Hollywood entertainment, revealing a lot of things there and a lot more. Now this online version said that it's going to be open to everyone. They did make fun of the fact of some of the things that people have joked about before, about the lines and the parking, saying free parking, pets welcome, all of that. So you can sit there from the comfort of your own home, and everybody will be allowed to see it. Now, what it's going to entail, we don't exactly know, but just the fact that they're going to continue on with this is, again, another sign of how companies are adapting to what's happening when it comes to their events being canceled. We'll see a lot more of this, I think, as we go forward. WWDC, we're going to talk about that here in just a minute with Apple and what some of their announcements could be, but they're going to be doing theirs digitally. But San Diego Comic-Con continuing on in an all-digital format. We're hoping we'll get some more information, but it is expected it'll probably happen around that same time that they had originally scheduled of late July. And who knows if it'll be a few days, if it'll be pre-recorded, what that will actually entail. But that's something at least to look forward to hopefully some fun things coming out of there for San Diego Comic-Con. Final thing here for this, the top of the stories. Then I've got some, we're going to go in depth with some of the Apple news, but in relation to Apple, I'll say this, some Apple stores are opening back up, not a lot of them. So naturally, they've got a lot of Apple stores worldwide, but here in the United States, where we are, that's where I am anyway. That's where they said that they are going to be opening up a few stores in Idaho, South Carolina, Alabama, and Alaska. Are for the states where that's going to be happening, and that's going to be over this next week. That's going to be limited in numbers. They're going to have all kinds of different restrictions that'll go on along with that. They'll encourage people not to come in if you don't need to come in, but 4 different places where they're opening up to start off with. They do have, 271 stores in the United States, over 500 globally, and I believe it's 4 to 5 that are opening up officially on that. But you can read more information about that at digitaltrends.com and see if maybe it's in your neighborhood. Continuing on with Apple news, a lot of Apple rumors and leaks happening right now in association with a few different products. So I'm going to give you the quick hits on these. You can get all the details at digitaltrends.com. But let's start off with this, the iPhone 12, what we're anticipating to hopefully be released on time in September. That's usually when Apple does that. Those dates could change, but the iPhone 12, here are some of the rumors that we're getting. And we've seen some of these before, but certainly a lot more of them have come out over the last couple of days. Some of the highlights, one of them being that they're going to have between a 60 hertz and 120 hertz refresh rate on those, which is starting to get up there. There's a couple of other phones that do have that, but definitely that's some really high-end refresh rates, so we're thinking it's going to have that. We also believe, at least according to these rumors and leaks that are coming out, that there's going to be several different models. So the rumors on the price are that the iPhone 12 is going to cost $649, which is actually $50 less than the iPhone 11, so it's a little bit cheaper for the base level. One of the key things, 128 gig capacity. So that's usually you have to pay extra to get 128 gigs, and they're saying, at least according to all this, that would be the standard 128 gigs. There's also the possibility of LiDAR coming on these phones, which that's a rumor that we've heard for a while, anywhere from 2 to 3 cameras, maybe even 4. But a lot of different interesting things coming out with it. They would go all the way up to the very high-end version. The name would be the iPhone Pro Max, and that one would top out around $1,400, which we expect with that too. So some rumors on the iPhone 12. Going from the iPhone 12 leaks, from that, we also have some more news about AirPods, meaning and in particular the AirPods name may not be limited to just earbuds. And this is the rumor that AirPods may be launching an over-ear headphone called the AirPods Studio. So this has been rumored for quite a long time. Again, there we go, seeing some of the leaks. John Prosser, one of the people that's leaking this information, saying it's going to be $349, again, over the ear. And the idea is that the branding for AirPods isn't just earbuds. It extends to this whole line of products that they've got. And this is something that, again, we've kind of expected for a while. We thought that maybe they were going to be working on this. Nothing is official, but it does sound like this could be released at WWDC. That's what everything's being speculated about right now. That's where they're going to put these out. And who knows, maybe that's something that they would have already announced. Again, all the schedules are off now as for when companies are announcing products, but it sounds like WWDC, which is going to be their big online event, that could be where that's announced. And the final thing here for the Apple rumors is rumors about the next-gen Apple Watch. Now, Apple Watch, we know, has been really at the top of the game when it comes to smartwatches for quite a while, at least as far as sales. And this is one of the rumors of something else they're going to add on. We know that medical technology is something huge for the Apple Watch, that they have really pushed with this. And now the rumors are circulating that they could have the ability to detect panic attacks. So by monitoring possibly your blood oxygen with a blood oxygen sensor they would have on there, monitoring your heart rate, that they say they're going to expand, or at least, again, the rumors. I want to keep saying that just so you know this is an official Apple announcement, but this is a lot that's come out about it, that they will expand into more mental health features to help out with that aspect of medical technology, which I think that'd be pretty amazing, honestly, if it does, for people who suffer from panic attacks. I mean, they're horrible, and this would, in theory, be able to let you know ahead of time, saying, hey, you're hyperventilating a little bit, your heart rate is going up. Say if you're driving, you could say, hey, time to pull over, relax for a little bit, or take some different measures because you may be on the verge of a panic attack. I think that's a great addition, if that's something that they are doing, but again, expanding into mental health when it comes to medical technology. All right, one more news story here, too, just for everybody who's ever fell victim or accidentally hit reply all to a massive amount of emails. Well, Microsoft is working to stop that nightmare now with some new features that are rolling out that would help mitigate some of those issues. Now, these are really going to be targeted at very large organizations to start off with, which makes sense. So what would happen is if it detects 10 reply all emails to over 5,000 recipients within 60 minutes, it would actually put a stop on any replies and put that out of commission for like 4 hours to where you wouldn't be able to hit reply all on that. If you've ever done that before on accident, it's really embarrassing when it happens, especially when maybe you ruined somebody's surprise birthday party on accident when you worked for the travelers. But nonetheless, his stopping reply all is definitely something that I think is good in this aspect. So that's something that Microsoft is working about. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
All right, so we're all trying to stay in shape at home, right? The gyms aren't open. Well, what about making your own home gym? That's what this product is. It is the Nordic Track RW Rower. So it's a home rowing system. It's got, on top of just the home rowing system, it's got an interactive personal training at home powered by iFit. So it's a one-year iFit membership that comes with this where you get different classes. It's got a 22-inch HD smart touchscreen display with an adjustable console angle and an ergonomic seat. So you can get entertained or watch a workout or follow along with somebody while you're using it. Clearly you can use it for a bunch of different things. There's 26 different coach-controlled resistance levels. It's got a silent magnetic resistance in it, so it can actually, it's very quiet, meaning it's not one of those really loud ones that you would normally hear. So you can really do a lot with it in order to stay in shape at home. So when you get out of quarantine, you'll feel great about yourself. That is the product, though. So it's compact, another nice thing, especially if you're setting it up at home. Again, this is the Nordic Track RW Rower, our product of the day, and it's on sale right now. So it's $1,599. So it's it's setting up a home gym. But if you follow that link right there, the link that's just below me, you can click on that, go through, take a look at it, see if it's something that you want to set up your home gym. And again, that is our product of the day, the Nordic Track RW Rower. So there it is. Click that link to find out more. All right, continuing on here with Digital Trends, we have some great things coming up here for you. But up next, we've got Jason Martin from Intel to talk about a new partnership they have with Penn State to provide essentially crowdsourced data in order to help mitigate some different health issues, including stopping and learning how to prevent strokes, all kinds of different things that they are working on right now. A really great initiative utilizing artificial intelligence, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. So stick around. We'll be right back with more Digital Trends Live. Back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us wherever you are. We do appreciate it. Of course, we broadcast live here every weekday, so hit that subscribe button, and we'd like to keep you up to date. In particular, something that we love to talk about is different ways that technology is being utilized to help advance medicine and help advance treatments for people, and we're going to talk about that in part and so much more right now. Joining us, we have Jason Martin, who is a principal engineer in the Security Solutions Lab and manager of the Secure Intelligence team at Intel Labs, joining us to talk about a new partnership that they have with the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania, Penn Medicine, and talking about this new organization, this federation that's been set up to help mitigate a lot of different things utilizing artificial intelligence. I just said a lot there. Let's talk to the expert right now, though. So joining us, Jason, I want to say thank you very much for being here with us on Digital Trends Live. Much appreciated. And to give everybody kind of an overview, could we talk about just brain tumors in particular and how much they really do affect people, to give everybody a little bit of context?
Yeah, that's great. So, tumors are obviously something that we feel a lot about. And it's interesting, the very beginning of sort of the pipeline of sort of understanding the importance of brain tumors comes from segmentation, this notion of finding them. Where are they? What are the outlines in them? And that's one of the big problems we've been studying with the University of Pennsylvania. It affects many, many people.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a huge issue for so many people. And finding them, you've got a lot of different medical organizations that certainly work on this, but I think what you're doing is really unique and fantastic. And if you can tell us about the partnership that's been set up and what the goal is of that.
Yeah. One of the things we found, and our partners at the universities have found, right, there's never quite enough data at any individual institution. So the hospital was going to collect a bunch of data from, say, MRI scans of patients, and that data can be used to train these fantastic machine learning models, these models that can help predict those segmentations, the boundaries of those tumors. But there's never quite enough data at any individual institution to be able to do that. And so what we've been doing is trying to create these partnerships where more data can be used to train those models. But they come with some challenging privacy issues of all of that medical data being collected in one place. And that has led to a technology that we've been developing called federated learning.
Yeah, privacy is certainly something that a lot of people are concerned with data, but in particular when it comes to medical information, obviously very sensitive stuff that people would be concerned with. So with this AI and this way that you've created this, how does it actually mitigate some of those concerns and keep that information, give the valuable information to the people who need it, but also keep the privacy aspect intact as well?
Yeah, so the way federated learning works is each individual institution will keep the data at its own compute environment, and then it'll sort of compute some updates on that data locally without moving the data anywhere. It stays at the hospital, and that those updates then can be sent, just the little changes, the pieces of information that hospital found when it was training can be sent to collect together into a global model that comes from all of the institution's contributions.
And then each one of these places would be able to access that information, each one that's part of the federation, and contribute in kind, I would imagine. Is that right?
Yeah. So the way it works is a cycle. You compute some updates. You use those updates to improve the model, make it a little bit better over time. You aggregate it together into one new global model, and then that goes back out to the institutions that get to use it.
And talking about this partnership, I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 29 different healthcare and research institutions, and then Penn Medicine as well, are utilizing this information. Do you see this as kind of the start of what could be an even wider global network?
Yeah, I hope so. I think what we want is there's really this delicate balance between the data that's needed to make artificial intelligence able to really help us in the medical space. But then that is balanced against the privacy concerns or even just the data movement challenges, the size of this information. And so we hope that it will lead to many more of these partnerships and federations that can improve all aspects of healthcare.
Utilizing artificial intelligence in this manner and being able to kind of crowdsource a lot of that data, which is just so incredibly important, I would think it wouldn't be too far to extrapolate, if this is successful, that this could be applied to other instances, other cases of other things that, that this kind of technology could be helpful for when it comes to finding cures or even sharing information. Do you see this, like, say, 5 years from now being utilized in different situations?
Yeah, we started with some of the segments that we think are the most sensitive. You know, we've been working in the healthcare space, a little bit of work in financial, anywhere where there's this need to be able to make more intelligent decisions, but balanced against the privacy or business aspects of sharing data. And I imagine, yeah, in 5 years we'll see that this becomes a frequent way to improve machine learning models.
Looking at it back to where it's at right now with it being launched, where are some places that people can follow along with it, just kind of see how this is actually working out? And I guess another question that I have too is, what has some of the feedback been from the different medical organizations that are involved?
Yeah, well, we're just getting started with this federation, and so it's sort of starting off as this research engagement to try and understand, make sure that we are really using the technology appropriately, that it is actually providing the benefits we hope for. You'll likely see some publications come out of this, as well as some new improvements to machine learning models themselves. Downstream from this, of course, I hope it will end up in actual radiologists' hands at some point in the future.
Well, it's exciting, and it's certainly a really great use of something like artificial intelligence. And I know, as it rapidly advances, it's one of those things where we find new cases all the time, but this just seems like it's just a perfect fit, a perfect use case for it to try to solve some of these medical issues that people have, and brain tumors being a tremendous thing that we need to solve. I want to say thank you very much for joining us here today, too, to talk about this, and congratulations on getting this launched. I can only imagine there's been some challenges during this particular time that you probably had to overcome. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of other medical stuff going on right now, of course, and that can be a bit distracting. But the beauty of technology and artificial intelligence is it works from anywhere, like from my home office right now. So.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. It's been able to work for that, and that people can still continue on to do their important research in all aspects of the medical field. Well, Jason, thank you very much for being here with us today on Digital Trends Live. I really appreciate it. Of course, everybody can go to intel.com to find out some more information, but really excited to see this project go forward, and thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so learning about that's brand new. That's utilizing artificial intelligence in all these different organizations to be able to combine forces, and that's such a huge thing when you think about all these amazing medical institutions and research facilities being able to use that data, but also maintain privacy, and that's all because of artificial intelligence. It's fascinating stuff to see where that's all going to go. Coming up next, we've got our own Andy Boxall, who's going to join us to talk about the new iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard. He's been using it, but is it actually a competitor to the MacBook Air? Do you want to go straight to just a tablet? Is it that good? Well, he's going to talk about his experience with it and what some of the ups and downs are. So that's coming up next. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Again, thank you for joining us, whatever platform you're on. Hit the subscribe button, drop in your comments, share the show. Let us know what you think about some of the topics we're covering. We'd like to keep you up to date with everything, and that includes discussions about new technology, and that is what we're going to do right now. With the new iPad Pro that's been out with the Magic Keyboard, we're going to talk about what that means. But one of the big things that people are discussing is it actually a replacement for your laptop? Have tablets gotten that good that you can just ditch the laptop altogether? Talking about that right now, we've got our own Andy Boxall on the line to cover that. And Andy, thank you, as always, for being here. So have you been using the iPad Pro with the Magic Keyboard for a while now?
I have, and I've been really pleasantly surprised by what it can do. So sort of give that bit of background. I've got one here. And at the end of last month, the Magic Keyboard was released by Apple. And the big story was it has a trackpad on the bottom of the keyboard. So you can interact with the iPad OS, with the touchscreen, the keyboard, and the trackpad for the first time. So that's when the question became, can I use this for work? Is this a laptop replacement? So I gave it a try. And in my week and a half, almost 2 weeks that I spent with it during my review time, I wrote 3 full reviews, like 7,000 words. And I used it to create those reviews and edit the photos and upload the photos and build everything that I normally would do in my job using an iPad and the Magic Keyboard. And I didn't use my laptop once.
And I think that's huge. Just taking a look at it right there, too, with the Magic Keyboard. I think some people are still getting used to that. Can you talk about your experience with that and what all that brings to the table?
Yeah, well, Apple's done a brilliant job with iPad OS by integrating mouse support. And obviously putting a trackpad on the front of the keyboard enables you to do natural laptop things like move text around or click icons, which are actually very obvious within iPad OS where you're supposed to click. And it all just feels very seamless. You do things in the same speedy fashion that you would on a laptop. The trackpad itself, when you move around, there is a cursor on the screen. It takes a solid click to make things happen, so you're never sort of wondering whether your little tap has made a difference. You can right click, you can open little menus. It's a proper trackpad that you'd expect on a laptop. And the keyboard itself is wonderful to type on. It has a millimeter of travel. It's not too loud. It has a backlight, so you can use it in the dark. And because the way the keyboard is constructed is solid, there's no flex. And that means you can use it on your lap and you don't have to sit at a desk. And that's a breakthrough. I mean, if you've used an old iPad keyboard, many of them are very flexible and they're not that comfortable to use on your lap and everything sort of flops about. It's very annoying. But this isn't the case with this. It feels like a laptop. And that's really what enabled me to work as I would do normally, just with a tablet and a keyboard case. Really, really fantastic.
So if you look at this and compare it to something like, I think it's the MacBook Air is what you were comparing it to before. Is this a direct competitor? Is this something, do you think you're going to ditch your laptop and just go with the iPad?
Well, it is a direct competitor in a very surprising way because it actually costs a little bit more than a brand new entry-level MacBook Air. So you're not saving money and you're not saving weight either. It's pretty much the same weight as a laptop, so you won't be carrying anything lighter around in your bag. For me, it becomes a competitor because it depends on what you're going to be doing. It's a great media machine. Video looks fantastic. Obviously, you can play all the games that you can get through Apple's App Store, and there's many, many that are compatible with the iPad. So as a media machine, I think that's its primary function. If you're not that much of a heavy worker, so you're not editing 100-page spreadsheets or doing really complex video or photo editing, it's perfect. But if you slip on the other side and you're less caring about the media and you more want the power, that's when a laptop makes much, much more sense. So yes, for me, it can replace my laptop and it is a direct competitor, but it won't be for everybody. It really does depend if you really want to do heavy work tasks, a laptop does make more sense. But if you want a laptop for home and you want to watch video and stuff and do some work out and about, I think it's perfect. Absolutely fantastic for that. You're going to have to pay.
So you mentioned the price more than the MacBook Air. Do you think somebody, if they're looking to upgrade their iPad right now, or just to get into maybe an iPad or a tablet, worth picking up?
Most definitely, most definitely. The iPad Pro generally is the best tablet you can buy, so you're not making a mistake by buying an iPad Pro. Adding the keyboard on adds another $300 to an already expensive tablet. So you're going to be spending $1,100 at the minimum if you buy an 11-inch iPad Air, iPad Pro. So it's a massive investment on its own. However, the iPad Pro 2020 isn't worth upgrading to if you've already bought a 2018 iPad Pro. And happily, the Magic Keyboard works with your 2018 iPad Pro. So if you've already got that, just buy the Magic Keyboard. It's an absolutely fantastic accessory. And if you're lucky enough to find an iPad Pro from 2018 a little bit cheaper than a 2021, pick it up because it's going to do an equally as good job and you'll save a little bit of money and put it towards a Magic Keyboard.
Nice. Well, and we've got the full reviews too at Digital Trends for anybody who wants to go in there and take a look at them a little bit closer. But I think it's really interesting just switching to that model and seeing if that's what's going to be happening for more and more people, especially with how good it is. Although it's not cheap, that's true. $300 plus for a keyboard does seem like a lot, but it sounds like it's a pretty good keyboard. Well, Andy, thank you so much as always for being here and sharing your insight with everybody. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon.
Pleasure, no problem. Thanks, Greg.
As Andy Boxall. You can check out all of his reviews, all of his articles at digitaltrends.com. As he mentioned, he's written 7,000 words, I think is what it was, on that over the last couple of weeks. But some great articles there for you to take a look at. And talking about products, let's go on to this. Coming up next, I believe we're going to be taking a look at the DJI Mavic drone. So we've got that to talk about. We've also got Drew Prindle, who's going to be joining us here shortly for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, where he scours the internet to take a look at some of the weirdest things that are out there online, and some of the coolest ones as well. So yeah, it's the DJI Mavic 2 review. We've got that right after this. So stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
DJI continues to rule the air, and with each new announcement, they set the bar higher. And you know what? The DJI Mavic Air 2 is no exception. It has a few standout features like 4K video recording at 60 frames per second, a high-resolution 48 megapixel camera mode, and 34 minutes of flight time. Now, all this points to the ultimate drone. But is it? Well, let's find out. Technically, the Mavic Air 2 is slightly larger and heavier than its predecessor, but it's not a problem. You could still fold it for easy storage in a backpack. Meanwhile, the hard lines in its design gives it a more aggressive look, and it's a warranted change given the upgrades under the hood. Now, if you're worried about all the extra bulk slowing it down, don't be. It still reaches a top speed of 42.5 miles per hour, just like its predecessor. I personally like piloting it in normal mode, just because you get that balance of speed and responsiveness. You could switch it to sport mode for tighter controls, while tripod mode offers slower and smoother movements. It's also quieter than other drones I've flown, but I'm impressed more by its battery life. It's rated for 34 hours of flight time, which is the longest in the Mavic line. At the center of the Mavic Air 2 is a new 12 megapixel half-inch quad-Bayer CMOS sensor on a 3-axis gimbal. The sensor is larger than what's found in the Mavic Air and the Mavic Mini. Photographers will be especially happy to find a new 48 megapixel high-resolution mode because there's more detail and sharpness than its 12 megapixel snapshots, but dynamic range isn't as good. However, I'm able to recover some of the details in the shadows in post using an editor. It's good if you want to crop images, but I found the 12 megapixel snapshots perfect for social media posts. The DJI Mavic Air 2 is a beast when it comes to video. You have 4K 60 frames per second video capture, and that's at a bitrate of 120 megabits per second, so there is some room for flexibility to work on the footage later on in post. I also prefer shooting in the D-Cine-like profile. You get rich and sharp details with low contrast. There's also HDR video. It's a handy option when you want the best results without having to work on the footage later on. You get improved dynamic range, so highlights, for example, are toned down. The sky won't be blown out, and it will have better exposure to match the rest of the footage. Colors also receive a bump in saturation too. Now, the only issue is that noise is more prevalent in the shadows. Other notable improvements over its predecessor include 1080p slow motion at both 120 and 240 frames per second, as well as an 8K hyperlapse mode that essentially speeds up the footage into these bite-sized clips. And yes, you get all the cool shooting modes that DJI has perfected to give content creators professionally made video. The weakest part of the Mavic Air 2 is its low light performance, and that's kind of expected considering the sensor's size. I took it out right at dusk with the sun already below the horizon, and there's a definite increase in noise and details are muddier. Whether you're a first-time or casual flyer, there's no worry about flying the DJI Mavic Air 2 thanks to its advanced collision avoidance system. You have forward and backward obstacle sensors just like in the Mavic Air, but DJI added downward-facing sensors as well. It works pretty good. It actually stopped the drone dead in its tracks from colliding with a tree even when I had my thumb pushing forward on the controls. It's assuring that it's smart enough to avoid potential disasters. And finally, there's also AirSense technology that allows it to receive signals from other nearby aircraft and shows it on your phone's screen. The controller for the Mavic Air 2 is a bit chunky, but I still found it comfortable to use. I like how the joysticks and cables are tucked away when you're not using them. However, the pull-out cradle can be a bit finicky, especially if you have a thicker case on your phone. The DJI Mavic Air 2 is an impressive drone that's fun, easy, and safe to fly. Whether you're new to the drone scene or you fly professionally, it has everything you'll need. It starts at $800, but I urge you to spend the extra money to pick up the Fly More combo at $988 because you're getting more value. You get a total of 3 batteries, a set of ND filters, extra propeller blades, and a carrying case. Those accessories more than make up the difference.
Well, hello there on this Monday morning. It is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you are or whatever time it is. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining. Hit that subscribe button. That way you get the notifications when we do go live and you can join the conversations we get to have. But since it is Monday, it's now time for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, where our own Drew Prindle joins the show to talk about some of the most interesting, weirdest, sometimes coolest crowdfunding campaigns that are out there. Drew, hello, number one. Also, let's talk about this Lunark one, because I got to admit, I kind of became obsessed with this morning when I saw you going to send it over. Can you tell us what this one is?
Yeah, so this is not a project that you're going to be able to like back and get something like delivered to your door. It's not one of those projects. This is one of those ones that you would be funding basically somebody else's event. These two guys, these two Danish architects, have basically built a prototype moon habitat, like for living on the moon. And in order to test it, they want to go to the Arctic and then lock themselves inside for 3 months straight just to like test, what it's like to live inside it and whether or not they lose their minds, essentially. And they've designed this thing in such a way that they think it's going to be more hospitable, just better than the current habitats that we use for astronauts. In terms of keeping you sane and keeping you like mentally healthy. So they've got like plans to make it like project Earth-like scenes on the walls. They're gonna have like algae growing around to not only provide like air freshening benefits and stuff like that, but also to supplement their food. And they've got all these really clever things built into it. But at the end of the day, the pod is really only the size of like it's like a one-car garage, and both of them are going to be sharing that space for 3 months. So yeah, pretty wild project.
Yeah, I think, the tech behind it actually is really pretty interesting if it does work out, where this is something that they could use. And I like all the different things they're putting in there. I also just want to watch like a live stream video to see if they go crazy. I hope that they do that as part of it, but that's it. It's an interesting one for sure. So that's Lunark, and they have been, let's see, I think they've been funded. Oh no, they're not quite funded. So there are ways that people can back it. And they've got some different things that you can get your name on the wall and like different things like that as far as it. But it's still a pretty cool project. The video is pretty fascinating. I would suggest watching it if people haven't seen it yet. Again,
and also,
there's no way they don't go insane in 3 months.
Also, we interviewed these two guys and did this super in-depth feature about it on DT. So if you want to just hear from them and hear more about the project, definitely check out that article on Digital Trends.
Perfect. Digitaltrends.com. So go there, take a look at that, and you can support that. That's a pretty cool project that they've got. Going on from there, let's take a look here for Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet again, where Drew scours the internet to find some of the coolest and most interesting ones. Let's go to the Telescope Oral Telehealth System.
Yeah,
what are we talking about with this one?
So, as you know, we're all stuck in, quarantine. We got to stay at home. So going to the doctor is kind of like a weird thing right now. You still have health problems. You just can't go in to see an in-person doctor for everything now. And
Right.
as a result of that, there are all kinds of interesting little gadgets and gizmos that allow you to do at-home checkups that are popping up. And this was kind of happening before all of this pandemic stuff happened, but it's really getting kicked into high
Ugh.
gear. And I think this is one of the most interesting ones that's popped up. So I've seen things like, stethoscopes or in-ear, otoscopes or whatever. This is the first one that I've seen for like dentistry and oral health. It's pretty much a tongue depressor that's clear and lights up and illuminates your whole mouth. And it attaches to a smartphone and has like a companion app and all that stuff, so that it can basically live stream the inside of your mouth in high fidelity to your doctor or your dentist or whatever. And they can give you an oral exam from afar.
I mean, that is a very valuable thing. I don't think they need this much imagery on there. I'm not a big fan of like medical shows or that in-depth of a view, but nonetheless, I can appreciate how valuable that could be for somebody who needs that. And for $29, that's really way more inexpensive than I thought it would actually be. So that's
Totally.
something that is the Telescope Oral Telehealth System. Connect a sore throat or sore tooth to a doctor from home. It has been funded, but you can still back it. It's still got 23 days left, and it's like it's 167% funded.
Yeah, so it's definitely happening.
So we've got that, again, walking through our awesome tech that you can't buy yet. That's the Telescope Oral Telehealth System. And then finally, we've got the Creality CR6. I'm not sure what are we talking about with this.
Yeah, so it's just the name for a 3D printer. Creality they kind of came out of nowhere a few years back, but they are currently the kind of reigning champ of cheap 3D printers. They make the most popular 3D printer in the world, which is the Ender 3, and it's popular because it's a lot of printer for like $180. But the problem was it wasn't very like decked out in terms of features. So they've made this newer one, and it looks pretty stacked. I've got to say, as like a 3D printing nerd, I am pretty into this thing. It has probably the best feature that it has not even just like an auto leveling system, but it doesn't require leveling at all, just like as a virtue of the way that it's built. Normally, the most annoying thing with 3D printing is that you have to constantly make sure that the bed that the printed parts are actually made on top of is like perfectly level from like 16 different points. And if that goes even just a little bit out of tune, things can start going wrong. This printer doesn't require any of that. It'll level itself. It doesn't need to be checked up on too much. So it really simplifies just the whole process of printing stuff at home.
That's pretty cool. And that's way less expensive than I would think something like that would cost for this one. So the Creality CR6, of note for the funding, it was a $100,000 goal. They're at $1.4 million with 24 days to go. So definitely popular, like you said, that people would want this. Is this something that you would actually back? Would you use this?
If I didn't already have a 3D printer, hell yeah, I would, because $300 for a printer of that size and that caliber is a screaming deal. Like, normally to get something with that size of a print build envelope and all of those high-end features and touchscreens and stuff, you're looking at easily $500 or more. So $319 is a steal for something like this.
Damn, now I'm kind of thinking about what I could use it for. So that's, again, the Creality CR6, self-leveling or leveling-free DIY 3D printer kit. So it's got the whole thing in there. So another thing here for awesome tech you can't buy yet. And we've got that at Digital Trends too, that people can go there and take a look. As always, some great, interesting things to take a look at for this segment. And Drew, I know there's more too that are up at the website. But as always, thank you for your hard work of finding these things and bringing them to us.
Of course, man. It's always a pleasure.
All right, Drew Prindle for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet, right here on Digital Trends. And this is just what we've covered for today's show. So let me talk about tomorrow's show that's coming up. So again, hit that subscribe button. I'll tell you what's going on. We're going to have Ronan Glon, who is our automotive editor, to talk about how that world is shaping up. A lot of news coming out with technology and the automotive world. We'll also have comedian Tom Papa, who's going to be joining the show. Tom Papa, who's going to be on here and talking about everything that he's got going on. Tom Papa's always hilarious, so going to be joining the show here for that. And we'll also have, Fortnite player, Brock Plays Fortnite. Brock Plays Fortnite is going to be here on the show tomorrow as well. That's just for our Tuesday episode, but we're here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, every single day. So if it's your first time watching, Enrique, I know you said that you had nothing else going on. Well, hopefully you had something going on at least for this 40 minutes or so that we were on air. And hit that subscribe button. Everybody else out there, hit subscribe, share the show, let other people know about it, whatever platform you're on. We are here broadcasting throughout the apocalypse, bringing you all of this trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more, and beyond. Thanks for joining. I'm Greg Nibbler. I'll see you right back here tomorrow with another edition of Digital Trends Live.